Guys, you guessed it, another serial killer files. And because you guys are hitting that like button, which I really do appreciate, hitting that like button is the easiest way, the most sufficient way to let me know you want to see more content like this. And I will do more as long as you keep liking these videos and supporting the content. This is going to be an interesting one. I am from Stanwood, Washington. So Seattle was literally about 30 to 40 minutes away from where I lived. This is a serial killer that my mom at the time was very much researching and very much staying up to date with because of where we lived and how serious it got. Now, did I ever do research on him? No. I don't know the level of crazy that this guy was. Have I heard of him? Absolutely, I've heard of him. The Green River Killer is someone from Seattle, Washington. Again, I don't know anything about this guy, so like that we're gonna find out in this episode. So again, if you like this type of content, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new to the channel, share the content. We post a lot of reactions, so if you like reaction channels and you want to be a part of this community, hit that subscribe button. Really means a lot. Share the content too. So if you have any friends or fans or anybody that you know would probably like this kind of content, share this content with them. But we're not going to waste any more time. We're going to go ahead and dive into the Green River Killer. I'm dead on curious to hear or watch or just listen to what Rob Dyke says about this guy.
Gary Ridgway, the Green River Killer, a man so torn between his intense sexual desires and his staunch religious beliefs, it led him down a path of death and depravity, for which he would become known as one of the most prolific serial killers in history. Let's open the serial killer file.
Great. Love these openings. Gary Ridgway, the Green River Killer. Yeah, I've seen pictures of him.
Gary Leon Ridgway was born on February 18th, 1949 in Salt Lake City, Utah, the middle son of Thomas and Mary
20 years
Ridgway.
older than my dad.
Gary regarded his early life as uneasy. His mother was a domineering, abusive woman who verbally abused him and his brothers.
Of course.
And his father was a meek man who used physical punishments against his sons. Gary had a bedwetting problem up until his early teens. Late bedwetting is often considered one of the signs of a serial killer in the making. His mother would belittle him and force him to be bathed by her when he would wet the bed, often while wearing a revealing
I didn't know
robe.
that.
This carried on until his early teens, causing both anger and sexual attraction towards his own mother. His father introduced him to the idea of necrophilia, telling him stories of a necrophilic co-worker at a mortuary he worked at. Gary liked the idea because having sex with someone who is dead, you wouldn't get caught. No feelings, she wouldn't feel it. Due to his tumultuous home life, he began to grow mentally disturbed.
We're already off to one of the fucking very disturbing opening. So he was a necrophiliac, or whatever you want to call those fucking sickos. Sorry, sickos. Yes, I absolutely. To have sex with a corpse is fucking.
Gary was still only a teenager when he attempted his first kill, the victim being a 6-year-old boy who Gary stabbed viciously. The boy, while bleeding, asked Gary why he did it, and Gary said he always wanted to know what it was like to kill somebody, while he laughed and walked away. Thankfully, the boy survived, but not without a surgery that left a foot-long scar. Gary had an IQ of about 82, quite below average intelligence. He struggled throughout school, causing him to graduate at age 20 in 1969.
Sorry.
After graduation, he took a job as a painter at Kentworth Truck Factory, joined the Navy, and married his high school sweetheart, Claudia Craig. During his tours in Vietnam and the Navy, Gary began using the services of prostitutes, leading him to contract gonorrhea. Despite this, he continued to see prostitutes and had unprotected sex with them. After he returned from the Navy, he learned Claudia had been having an affair, and the two divorced in 1971. This brought Gary great turmoil. He He referred to his ex-wife as a whore, despite attempts to reconcile the marriage. Gary eventually remarried to a woman
He looks like a
named
douchebag.
Marcia
Sorry, he
Winslow
does.
a few years after his divorce, and they had a son named Matthew in 1975. It was during this marriage that Gary began to show a darker side of himself. Marcia claimed Gary had choked her and demanded sex frequently. He also became devoutly religious during his second marriage, reading from the Bible often, preaching throughout his neighborhood, crying after church sermons, and demanding his wife adhere to strict biblical teachings. Despite his religious devotion, however, his insatiable desires for sex grew to the point where he would demand Marcia engage in sex with him in public places, sometimes in the places that the bodies of his victims would end up being discovered. Despite his new marriage, child, and religion, he still used the services of prostitutes in the area. He was torn between his convictions and his voracious needs.
He's no man of God,
This marriage
I'll tell you
would
that.
ultimately not last, and Marcia eventually filed for divorce in 1981, gaining primary custody of Matthew and ordering Gary to pay child support. The rejection of both his wives, the anger and lust he felt towards women, and all the events in his life that led up to his current situation made him overflow with rage. It was in the summer of 1982 that Gary's thoughts of murder and sex finally boiled over. The first Green River victim to be found was that of 16-year-old runaway Wendy Lee Caulfield.
Kids
in
all the
July of
time. It has to be fucking
1982,
kids or teenagers.
having been strangled and her body dumped just outside of Kent, Washington. By September of that same year, the bodies of 5 more women would be found within the vicinity of the Green River and the surrounding Seattle-Tacoma area.
Yeah.
Gary felt as though women had a control over him, lying to him, causing all of his problems. He chose prostitutes because of his hatred of them. He found it was easy picking them up. Gary admitted to having a fixation with them and despised them for what they were, but was unable to stop himself from using them. He later told investigators he would show the women a photo of his son to gain their trust, even going so far as to bring his son along to pick up some of his victims. While partaking in a sex act, if the woman did not cooperate with his requests or something were to anger him, he would strangle her. If he felt an urge, he would return to the bodies and perform acts of necrophilia on them until he was unable to do so due to decomposition. Over time, he hid bodies farther away from his home in an attempt to deter his necrophilic urges. In 1985, Gary attended a Parents Without Partners group where he met Judith Mawson, a woman 5 years his senior. They dated for 2 years before moving in together, and she would become his third wife in 1988. Gary would describe his marriage to Judith as extremely happy, Judith regarding him as the perfect husband, and Gary found himself in his urges to kill calmer while he was with her, and he used this to motivate himself to end his merciless killings once and for all. In his work locker, he
Did it help? Did it stop? Probably not.
NKDK for no kill, don't kill, to remind him what he had at stake if he kept killing. Judith remarked that when she first moved in, he oddly had no carpets, and he would leave for work in the early hours of the morning under the guise of seeking overtime pay. She claimed she never once suspected anything and knew very little of the case due to not following the news. Ultimately, despite his relationship with his wife, Gary could not contain himself forever.
Of course he couldn't.
Continued to kill. Gary was arrested twice on charges of solicitation in 1982 and 2001. He was first suspected of being the Green River Killer in 1983, but was able to pass a polygraph test in 1984, though later analysis revealed he had actually failed. Police took hair and saliva samples from him in 1987, but due to DNA still being in its infancy, he was released without further questioning. By December of 1984, the body count had risen to 42 victims, and the Green River Task Force was formed that year. The task force was consisted of detectives from King County investigators, including David Reichardt and Robert Keppel, who had interviewed Ted Bundy on occasion.
So these
Bundy
two were...
even offered his own interpretation of the Green River Killer's mentality. He suggested
shit,
stake out any fresh graves they found in order to catch the killer revisiting to commit necrophilia.
Holy shit. Ted Bundy had a hand in catching the Green River Killer. That is something I... Holy shit.
But by 1998, the victim total reached 46, and the task force...
We just watched a video where someone was in the 20s. Kill counts, right? Basically. Someone had just killed 20 people. That was the Candyman. Already 20 over that. Oh my god.
To go on. It was finally in 2001 that DNA from the first 5 victims concretely linked their cases to one another, and the DNA collected from Gary in 1987 was finally confirmed to be the Green River Killer. Gary was arrested on November 30th, 2001 at Kentworth Truck
Yeah,
Factory.
no wonder why I heard a lot about it. 2001,
he was initially
yeah.
indicted for the murders of Marcia Faye Chapman, Cynthia Jean Hines,
I remember hearing about it as a
Carol Ann
kid.
Christensen, and Opal Mills, and later Wendy Caulfield, Deborah Bonner, and Deborah Estes, after paint fragments found on the victims' bodies were linked to the car paint used by the factory Gary worked at for
Poor
nearly
ladies.
30
That is
years.
unfortunate. And
Prosecutors
dumb
were set on
that they got
sentencing
killed.
Gary to death. However, instead, it was decided that closure for the families of the victims was a better outcome. Sheriff Reichardt interviewed Gary in an attempt to extract more information from him, but he remained elusive. Finally, in a deal set out by his lawyers, Gary Ridgway pled guilty on November 5th, 2003 to 48 counts of aggravated first-degree murder.
Is he
in
crying right there?
exchange for his cooperation in locating the bodies of his other victims. He was sentenced to 48 consecutive life sentences on December 18th.
yeah, you ain't getting out.
He led investigators to the grave sites of Pammy Avant, Marie Malvar, and April Buttram in 2003. He also pled guilty to the murder of Rebecca Marrero in 2011
Damn.
after her skull was found near the location of Marie Malvar's remains, making her his 49th confirmed victim.
Almost
However,
50
Gary
kills.
confessed to a total of 71 murders in his over 20-year career.
Yeah, this shit probably would not be happening today. We would catch somebody a lot sooner than 70 fucking kills. Are you kidding me? 70 murders in 20 years, and this guy walked around... Oh my god. 20 murders. Some of them look exceptionally young, too. Like, oh my god. Like, that girl right there. You guys won't be able to see that, but the girl, like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5... Like, 5 rows down and 3 over looks like she could be, like, 14 years old.
As he called it. But he admitted he had killed so many that
Yeah,
he
career,
had
fuck you.
lost count. Today, he remains in Washington
Career,
State
get out of here.
Penitentiary at the age of 68.
Going into this not knowing anything, almost 70-something kills. 70-something kills in 20 years. A career. Get the fuck out of here, you fucking asshole. Yeah, not a career. Wow. Yeah, no wonder I heard a lot about it. In 2001 is when he got arrested, so, like, I started hearing a lot about it and stuff. Yeah, and going on, like, I think it was 2003 when he was starting to confess and stuff, and giving people, like, telling people where the bodies were buried and stuff, and that's probably what my mom was, like, keeping track of and stuff, because she was, like, mind-blown when she was hearing about all this stuff. Like, Seattle was only, again, like, 30 to 40 minutes away, so, like, all of these bodies and stuff were found not far from where we lived, like, in that same state, so... Wow. Speechless. Like, literally speechless. Comment down below. Let me know your thoughts, guys. Which one should I react to next? I'm curious to hear your opinions. Again, check out our Patreon page. Links in the description. Subscribe to the channel if you're new to the channel. Share the content. Hit the like button. And until next time, guys, keep it retro. And I'll check you guys out in the next video. Take care. Holy... shit, Michael. We made it to We Slaughtered Barbecue, the epitome and the purpose of our trip is to make it to this area.
Oh yes. Food and cattle.
Yep. I just noticed, is that a cemetery way over there, or are those cattle?
No, I think that is a small cemetery.
Holy shit, that's kind of cool and creepy. That thing is massive, but there's not just that one. There are spiders literally
There's
everywhere.
one there. There's one there. There's one over there. And then there's this one here.
Dude, they're everywhere on the
Oh, they're all
property.
huge.
It's
Oh,
cool.
there's one there.